Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In a previous video, we learned how to create an AWS free tier account and also we created an EC2 instance of Ubuntu. In this video, we'll learn how to run a script during the instance startup by default and also control the instance startup and stop using the Amazon lambda functions where you can automate and also control the time when the instance would be started and also when it will be shut down. I am now in my instances EC2 instance dashboard page, which will show me all the instances that are available. I would be interested to connect to this specific instance which is already in the running state. So I'll go ahead and select the instance and hit the connect button. There will be three options to actually connect to an EC2 instance. That would be through the EC2 instance connect, through the session manager, and also through the SSH client. For our use case, I would be using the SSH client, which also provides the command which will include the PEM key that was downloaded during the instance creation, and also the EC2 public domain. I'll copy this, and I'm using the Sigwin client, and I've already entered my command, so that would be this, and now I'm in my Ubuntu machine. So to get started, what I'll be doing, I'm in the current directory home Ubuntu. I'll create a new Python script that will be just called algo.py. So once I create this, I'll just add import time. In the next line, I'll just say time sleep, and I'll just put it as 500 or let's say 1000. Right. Once I do this, I'll go ahead and save this file. So what we did just now is created an algo.py file and included a sleep command that would sleep for 1000 seconds. So the main aim is to have this file invoked or Python run this specific file in the home/Ubuntu directory. So for the test run, I can just say Python 3 and then algo py. So now your code is running and it has put this into sleep for 1000 seconds, as you see. Now I'll go back to my instance page, instance dashboard, click on select the instance that I'm interested in and go to actions and then instance settings and go to edit user data. So when you go to edit user data, you will not find anything here. That's because your instance is currently running and there is no user data found. You will have to invoke this specific script every time during startup. So the main idea is to link hookup this specific script algo.py here. To modify anything in the user data, we have to first stop the instance. So I'll select the instance that isn't currently running and then go to instance state and then stop the instance. This might take a while. Now that the instance state would automatically be stopped, you can go to actions, instance settings and then go to edit user data. Okay, looks like the instance is still not stopped. I'll just come back to refresh. Okay, now the instance state is stopped. I'll go to actions and then instance settings and then again edit user data. In the edit user data page, you will be allowed to run a script. So what I'll be doing, I'll be invoking a shell script that in turn calls my Python script. So I'll say Python, the same command what we run, Python 3 and then home/Ubuntu and then /algo.py and I'll run it in the background. So what this would do is every time the instance starts, the shell script would be run and the shell script in turn runs this Python script in the background since we have an ampersand at the end. So let's go ahead and save this. And now we'll start the instance again and try to connect from the SSH client. Now that I've changed my user data, I'll come back and restart the instance. Once the instance is in the running state, I'll also SSH to the instance. And once I do this, I'll run ps-ef to confirm if my algo script was invoked. And once I do it, as you see, the script was run and it's currently in the sleep state, home Ubuntu algo.py and Python 3. So this is the same command what we gave during the instance startup in the edit user settings page. So I can just go back here. I would not be able to modify it, but I will be able to see what was the setting. So this is the setting. If you go here, it's Python 3 home Ubuntu algo.py, which is running in background, and let's just see what has been invoked during the instance startup. You can confirm this multiple times by just going back to the instance and just do a reboot of it. Now that we have our algo script running as part of the instance startup, we can also automate the instance startup and shutdown as part of the cron job that can run using the lambda functions. To do this, I'll go back to my AWS management console page and go to the lambda functions, which can also be accessed from the services dropdown. Just click on this lambda. Now I'll go ahead and create a new function. I'll leave it for the default setting, author from scratch, and create a new function name, and let me call it as ec2 stop instance, because at first let me stop the instance since I'm already running it, and also say demo. The runtime engine, I'll choose it as Python because I'll be using a Python script for this. Now go to change default execution role and say create a new role with basic lambda permissions, and then create this function. Now that the function is successfully created, ec2 stop instance demo, I'll go ahead and say add trigger. So here in the drop-down, look for CloudWatch events, which will allow me to configure a cron tab. And also I'll create a new rule, let's say ec2 stop instance, and say demo. I can leave the description the same. The cron tab expression would be something like this, which would mean the trigger would be run at this time, that would be 1400 or 1400 UTC. Right? I'll go back to my world time body and look for the time. So 1530, so that is 3:30 PM IST, is 10 AM UTC. So I'll change this to 10 AM. And now I'll say add. Once I do this, we now have a lambda function. We have a trigger that is configured to run at 3:30 PM IST. We would further now write a code, the Python script, to stop the instance. So that would be somewhere here. Before we do this, there is one more check. We have to give the role permission to stop the instance for this user. So I'll go back to configuration and go to permissions. And there is a role here. I'll just click on that. Scroll down for the policy name. And then click the edit policy. And then click on add additional permissions. Select a service, so that would be your ec2 instance because that is what you want to modify. And then the actions, so let's say stop instances. Also specify a resource. I'll just say any in this account. And there is a request conditions which you can just leave it for now, and then say remove policy. Once you do this, you will see it. You will see the service name ec2 and access level is limited, and you will have the right permissions for it. Let me save this change. And if you remove this JSON, you will be seeing ec2 and then the action name would be stop instances. So that would be 8, line number 8. And also the resource, this part. So this is what we have modified just now from the default policies. Now let me go back to my trigger function So this is your EC2 lambda function. I'll go back to code and the lambda function.py page, and here we'll write some scripts that will stop the instance automatically. This would be the code to stop the instance from the lambda function. So in the instances, we need to give the instance ID. So I'll go back to services, go back to EC2, and then pick the instance ID. This is your instance ID. Copy that and go back to your lambda function. And add your instance ID here. So that's it. So what you did just now is you have marked the region as AP South 1. So that is what your region where your instance is running, and you've also provided your instance ID, and using the Boto3, that's the built-in Python library from AWS, you will use the stop instance function to stop the specific instance. So I'll go ahead and say deploy and click on test. Let's create a demo event. Let's say it's demo event and say create, and then say test. Once you do this, you see the function log. It says stop instances and end request ID, and then also the duration the script had run. So now the instance is successfully stopped. So I'll go back to services and then go to EC2 and say instances, remove this filter, and you will see the instance state has changed to stopping. After a minute or so, this would be stopped. So what we have done, we have created a lambda function, we have tested it, and we have also scheduled a cron expression that would run at 3:30 PM IST, will automatically shut down the instance. Now if you see, the instance is stopped. So this is how you create a lambda function that can automatically run at a predefined interval. You can also start and stop instance multiple times. For the sake of simplicity, I've just shown you how to stop an instance. Now I'll also show you how to start an instance, say at 9 AM. Everything would be the same, just that the function that would be used from the Boto3 library would be start instances. So let me just create a lambda function again. Let's not start it. Let's go to lambda again. Create a new function. It would be the same, author from scratch. Let's say EC2 start instances, instance, then demo. Runtime would be again Python 3.8. I'm going a bit fast because I've already shown you this. The steps would be exactly the same. And then say create a new role with basic lambda functions and say create function. So we created a new lambda function, EC2 start instance demo. Now let's go to add trigger. And again in the drop down, look for CloudWatch events. And then say create a new rule. And let's call it EC2 start instance demo. Again, the cron expression you can just open the lambda function which you had just created and just take it from there. So let me do it in another tab. Go to stop instances, then click on the trigger, and then just copy this scheduled expression. Now we'll go back to my world time buddy and then look for, let's say I want to start the instance at say 9 instead of 9:15, just to make sure. Always remember the lambda functions, there might be a very slight delay of 15 seconds, 30 seconds, up to max a 1 minute delay when the lambda function can run because of the trigger and the way the lambda function is actually configured. So I'll just skip it for 9 AM, so that would be 3:30 AM UTC. So I'll go back here, I'll just modify this to 3 and say 3:30 AM. And then I'll just click on add. So now I have a lambda function, I have a trigger configured. So let me go to permissions, go to the role, And here, let me just click on the policy name. And then edit policy. Add additional permissions. Choose a service. EC2. And then say start. Now I'll go to resources. I'll say any in this account. And then say rev policy. It's EC2, access level limited right, and then instance ID, the resource name. I'll save this. Go back to my the lambda function page. I'll go to code, and in my other tab, I'll just copy the code what we had just written for the stop instances. So I added my stop instances. I'll just change few things. The method should be now start instance. So that's the method we're gonna call, right? So everything remains the same. Your instance ID remains the same. The region remains the same. Just that your method name and one print statement that would be varying. So I'll just save this. I'll click on test. And then say create. So that creates an event. And now we can go ahead and test it out. So once you do this, you see a print statement saying start instances, and from the logs it looks like everything is clear. So there is no problem. The duration is here, the build time is here, the memory is used. If you want further information, you can go ahead and say what each of these means. But for our case, if you see the status has succeeded, and since the code has run, that can start the instances. I'll go back to my EC2 dashboard page. And if you see this, the instance is running now. So that's it. So what we just learned, we created two lambda functions, one to start an instance and one to stop an instance. And each of these lambda functions are controlled by a trigger that runs at specific interval. In our next video, we'll see how to configure a Telegram bot and use that bot to receive notifications from our Algo script. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please share and subscribe.